Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're at the Miami Lakes Business Podcast. I'm your guest host, Tico Casamayor, today with Jessica Medina from U.S. Century Bank. A couple quick notes. We have some sponsors. We finally got some sponsors, one of them being Underground right here on Main Street. You can see my beautiful new kicks, Air Force One lows. We also have Florida Skill Gaming. Thank you, Haroon and Alex McLean, for making this and these happen. Okay, let's see. Let's get into this. We're going to go quick. I'm going to get rid of questions because I'm not going to ask you any scripted questions. I'm going strictly inappropriate and disrespectful questions. You okay with that? Good. Glad to hear. All right, just kidding. We're not going to do that. We're going to bring in the real host, Fred Senra, from Miami Lakes Chamber President, Miami Lakes Auto Mall. But remember to follow us on YouTube. Hit subscribe, like, Miami Lakes Business Podcast. Thank you very much. Tico Casamayor, Jessica Medina. We stressed her out, but she's good. But let's bring in Fred. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring in. Oh, put my shoe back on.
Is that what you were wearing?
Oh, yeah. Right.
From the Vox Popular Studios in Miami Lakes, we bring you the Miami Lakes Business Podcast, sponsored by the Miami Lakes Chamber of Commerce. And today we have a guest from a local bank. Her name is Jessica Medina.
Hello.
And
Thank you for having me.
She's a vice president of
Business
banking for U.S. Century Bank, and also a member of the Miami Lakes Chamber of Commerce, and a member of BNI, and also one of the members of the Economic Development Committee. So, as you can see, folks, she's a busy body. And but we welcome you, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so glad that you're here. This is actually our fourth podcast, and number 2 will be airing, I believe, this week, this
awesome.
coming week. But tell us a little bit about the banking center in Miami Lakes. I know you have a branch here. And is that the one that you work out of?
Yeah, so I have an office out of that branch. It's right there in the shopping center where, right next to, close to here. It's actually next to Cello's, better said.
Okay.
And we have 5 employees that work out of that branch as well. Full service, from anything regarding accounts to lending and all services that we can offer at the bank.
All right. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay.
About your involvement and not only at the bank, but also
overall,
as a mother, as a wife, here in Miami Lakes. How long have you been around here? So I guess everybody wants to know those things.
Awesome. Yes. So I actually was raised in Miami Lakes. I've lived in Miami Lakes since I was 5 years old. My parents really ingrained us here in the town. And when it came time for me to get married and establish a family of my own, I told my husband that it was only going to be here in Miami Lakes. So I just love the community. I love what it stands for. I love the schools in the area. And so this is where we raise our family. We have 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. They all attend the local public schools, and we're involved in the schools. Aside from that, we're both in banking. As you know, I am a commercial lender at U.S. Century Bank. And then aside from that, I also sit on the Economic Development Committee that we have here at the town. I'm just very passionate about what it is to grow the business community and make sure that it's one that I can do my little piece and my part in making sure that it's one where businesses are attracted to be in and that can flourish for the existing businesses here. So that's why I chose to be on that committee as well, because any little bit that we can do to help counts.
That is wonderful, and so for a lot of people, it's kind of a dream to do all the things that you're doing. Being a mother and with 4 kids. I thought you had 2, but 4. God Almighty, that's that's a lot.
Yeah.
To nowadays with all the involvements. I'm sure they're involved in sports and all those things. So I'm sure your husband and yourself
we're
are
We're
busy.
at the Optimist. We're at Royal Oaks Park. We're at Veterans Park some days. So we're all around town, all the events here. and it's good. One rule that I have for them is you can choose an extracurricular activity, but make sure that it's within this little radius that I can travel and meet all of you at. So it works out. It works out.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about business. What advice would you have to local businesses here in the event that there is a need for for a business loan of any kind? And if you can tell us a little bit about the type of since you are commercial lending, so that's your line of
forte,
work,
yeah.
right? So maybe tell us a little bit about that, so that the businesses that are listening and that are seeing us right now in the podcast can learn a little bit more about it.
Sure. So one thing that I've come across so often in the over 15 years that I've been in banking, all of which have always been in the commercial sector, is I've run across so many small businesses that don't have that real relationship with their bank. And so for me, I don't understand how that works, because when you have a small business, your bank can be such an asset if you truly do engage yourself in that kind of relationship. So one thing that I love in U.S. Century Bank that I've been able to offer is that personalized service where I handhold my clients and all business clients from whatever it is on their basic need of banking, whether it's an account, to being able to get them to the point where they can get a loan, to being able to get to the point where they can scale their business and grow it to the next level, whether it be through working capital, acquisitions that we can also finance. So I think that the main thing is, what relationship do you have with your banking officer? And if you don't have one, it's important that you find one. Not every bank offers that. Not every bank, my clients can call me, text me, email me at any time, and they get me, not a 1-800 number. And that's invaluable in a lot of situations. So I think one of the ways that these businesses have been able to really take advantage of this is through, for example, there's some businesses that may have spent so many years renting and they just want to get out of that. So they want to find their location where they can own their own location instead of paying somebody else's rent. And so we facilitate that not only through conventional financing but also through SBA products. The Small Business Administration offers a 504 program and an SBA 7A program, all of which facilitates purchase of equipment, working capital expansion needs, owner-occupied real estate that you're going to be acquiring. And you're able to do this with sometimes as little as 10% down. And that's huge for somebody that may not have the liquidity or may not want to put that liquidity to work on real estate, but can put a little bit and then at least have their own establishment or, whatever the other needs are. Through the SBA, we can also finance business acquisitions. And there's just so much that is available on that end that a lot of businesses are not aware of. On the we also do, for example, if your business is to invest in real estate, we also offer financing in multifamily, in industrial warehouses, in any kind of investment properties as well. And so there's just so much that it's not every bank that really has an appetite for all these little niches that we do. So you're banking with U.S. Century, what it would look like is that I'm really your go-to for everything. I don't pass you around depending on what your need is. I'm really that person that would facilitate that for you.
I think that's great because I have personally experienced dealing with with a huge bank that they don't really know who you are,
Yeah.
and they don't really care because they have so many compared to dealing with somebody that you can talk to,
Right.
and that you can see when you walk into the bank. That makes the world of difference.
It does.
It's unbelievable how how the banking system has changed. But you would say then that is the advantage of working with a smaller bank, with a let's call it a neighborhood bank.
Yeah, definitely. Because in that sense, you get somebody that can learn. If they don't know, they can learn to understand your business. And when you have that to your advantage, then that person can help you financially, guide you. Maybe you're not ready to purchase something right now. Maybe it's in setting you up so that in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you've worked your way to the point where then you're ready, and then you can do whatever it is that you need to move forward to be able to grow. But how many clients I come across where in knowing their business, they've been able to get that value. It's something that small businesses can take it for granted if you don't really know the advantage of it.
I think it's a real plus, to hear that, and to be able to, for our audiences, to know that, yes, there are banks that really care about you, and they partner with you, and they advise you, and, things that maybe they would be charged to
right.
To do if they hire somebody to do that for them.
Yeah, not that I'm against brokers and everything that's offered on that, but you don't really need that. If you have a community bank and you have a relationship with somebody like that you can pick up the phone and call, then that's not needed. You're going direct to the source.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about something that really concerns people. Bank liquidities. You hear this horror stories from different places. I don't think we've had anything happening down here in South Florida, thank God. But how solid is U.S. Century Bank?
No, U.S. Century Bank, thank God. I personally have been with the bank for 16 years now, and it's in the best position that we've ever been. A couple years ago, we went public, and that really took the bank to another level. The difference between what's gone on with these 3 or 4 banks that have found themselves in huge problems is the way that they've positioned themselves, the way that their investments were, how concentrated they were in certain industries. So we pride ourselves in being really diversified and not having those issues that those banks had. So we have so many banks that are not interest bearing, that are real, true commercial relationships, commercial business relationships, and that's very different from what these banks experienced.
I know a little bit about your bank. I think we had a board member come to our chamber luncheon.
Yes, Aida Levitan.
Aida Levitan, and she did a very thorough explanation on how the bank started. And the bank actually is local.
Yeah, it was actually founded by local real estate investors. These local real estate investors, they came together and they formed this bank. Since then, a lot of those shareholders their ownership has been diluted because there was 2 private equity firms that did come in and are the majority shareholders of the bank at the moment. But all of which remain very, very they remain very involved with our board in our local decision making here at the bank. The way that we facilitate is that anything below $5 million is a decision on the lending side, is a decision that's made with the people that actually work, our chief lending officer, our chief credit officer. Anything above that would go to the board. And these people that sit on the board, they are very ingrained in the bank and are very helpful in being realistic at what Miami is like and what lending is like here, because sometimes these other banks can be a little bit disconnected. It's definitely not the same world that we experience here as in other states, as I'm sure you know.
Oh, I'm sure. We always we've been known in Miami for having that underground economy. Sometimes people, that work in in the gardening business or whatever, they may not be as above board as we can call it that, as other businesses are, and yet they do a good amount of business in the area, and they have hundreds of customers, and they're very solid. So why not somebody like that help out?
Exactly.
Exactly. I think it's wonderful. The commercial loans right now, which is what our business audience will probably be interested in. What kind of loans would they be? As far as interest rates, time, and things like that basics that people would like to know.
So right now, and obviously it depends when this video airs. This could change in the drop of a dime. But right now The rates are, I would say, in the sixes somewhere. We're creeping up in the sevens pretty soon. We're expecting another rate hike soon. So that's something that is affecting a lot of the people and qualifying for loans at the moment. But interest rates go down. That's why there are these SBA 7A products that I spoke to you about before. That's actually a product that's on a variable rate, and some people could see that as a horrible thing right now. But when rates start going down, that's going to be something that they're going to be able to take advantage of, and they're not going to be stuck in a fixed rate. So, that's also something to consider. But the typical loan, let's say that you were a business owner and you wanted to go purchase your own commercial property. A conventional loan, we would finance 80%. That means the business owner would have to come in with 20% equity. It would be structured as a 10-year loan with a 25-year amortization, and the rate would be maybe fixed 5 and 5. Sometimes we can fix it in 10 years with certain products. That would be on a conventional loan. Then on the SBA side, we can finance up to 90%. They can throw in there the closing costs, the financing of the closing costs as well. And those loans can sometimes be amortized as long as 25 years. So you don't have a balloon. The Small Business Administration is big on making sure that the small business owner does not have to then refinance at year 10 into another loan.
Right.
So that the benefit is that you have a guaranteed loan for 25 years on that end. And those rates are sometimes are variable on the 7A side, sometimes are fixed on the 504, but there's options.
So there are all kinds of ways that people could borrow nowadays that are not as difficult as they may think.
No, it's not. It's not just like a one product thing. There's options.
Right. It's not like a cookie cutter.
No, it's
type,
not cookie cutter.
Right.
At all.
Okay.
And that's not to say that some banks aren't like that. We're definitely not cookie cutter. There's gray areas, and there's explanations for things, and there's understanding in different industries and in different businesses. So we take the time to get to know that industry and make sure that, it's the appetite of the bank, and that we truly do give that type of business a fair chance.
I think it's been very educational. It's been wonderful having you here on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
As you can see, it was painless.
Yeah.
We try to keep it as friendly atmosphere as possible.
Yes.
So we hope to have you back again at some point in time.
I would love that.
In the future. And so we want to thank Jessica Medina from U.S. Century Bank for being here with us today, and invite you to hear and listen and see our next podcast. Till then.